Got it. Going over to thing. It says Zoom. Oh, there we go. All right. Got it. Going over to, perfect. All right, we're live.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
What's up? Sorry, I'm like,
You're just like still clicking. All right.
I am still clicking. I was just making sure I can see like the chat box. Perfect. Awesome. What's up? What's up, everybody? We're back. I'm so excited. I love doing these little Zoom YouTube chats. So.
Yeah. And we've got a lot for you today on the subject of, oh my God, ladies in leadership, huge. I mean, Jenny was good enough to keep it general because I think we were, having our little pep before we do this. And it's really about just coming to light on, we always honor our hearts and what's in our space, because we really want to show up for you authentically and really show you how we're kind of riding our own journey and processing our thoughts and our emotions. And it's been a big week for both of us in terms of we're really in this new level, and or at least but Jenny is too, but I'll speak for myself, and really truly honoring this, like I am in this new realm of really recognizing myself as a leader, as a speaker, as a coach, as just all these things in my wisdom. And so I've been reading a lot about just like what is kind of this switch of holding me back, and this doubt, because I know it's in existence, and for me now it's recognizing like, how do I climatize to success and really stop myself from self-sabotaging as I normally have done in the past, because there is another way, and I want everyone to know that we think it's, a lot of the times we know the steps, as Jenny and I know, but it's really our belief system that kind of fucks us up. So for me, I was telling her about this book that I've been reading called The Big Leap, and I'll get more into it later, but just really today it's about like what the switch is. And once you recognize this one thing, it will change everything about how you view yourself and how you handle those moments of fear. And just, it's so simple, it's kind of humbling. So I'm really excited about that today.
Yeah, I love this topic because I think women in leadership roles is still like almost frowned upon. You know what? And it's like, it's not the 70s, even the 80s anymore. And, women are badass. And I feel like there's two types of women. The women are like, oh, I can't do that. It's my role to be X. But then there's like women that I feel like that are like us would be like, oh, fuck that. Like, let's roll. And like, let's try it. Let's see what happens. And then we do something and we fail at it and be like, oh yeah, that sucked. And, but this is what I learned. And now I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to try this. And then, that's what makes leaders. Somebody that's willing to try something, maybe not succeed in something, but then they learn something from it. And people are just afraid to fail. And I am the queen. Yeah. I always say I'm the queen of failure because that's how I learned. Because literally, if we didn't, as babies, get up and fall down, and our parents would be like, oh, it's okay, just stay on the ground, we would have never learned how to walk.
Yes, true.
But we always have to learn by doing. Yeah. And I think women sometimes are afraid to fail because it makes us look bad. And I truly don't give a shit if I look bad, because I'm learning. I'm always learning and growing. I will be learning and growing to the day that I die. And I don't want women to be afraid to learn and grow, to ask for help, to buddy up and be like, hey, let's try this. Let's try something new. Let's do something together. But why? Why are women afraid to be in this leadership role or support one another? Like, I don't get that still.
No, that's a great, I mean, great observation. It's kind of a lot of amen to all of that. I mean, there's a lot of like undertones. It's true. Being in the tech world, myself, seeing my own experience, like everything you said, it's this innate fear. Couple things. There's like a double standard. And I wouldn't even say it's like men judging women. I would say it's other women judging women too.
They're the worst.
Very, very, like myself included. I 1,000% hold women to a higher standard than I do men. Like I'm pretty critical. I'm working on it. That's the other part too. I think as you say that, I think a lot of it is this fear of like there's a perfectionism. There's a precision, just in my experience between female and male entrepreneurs, women, it's like the job idea, right? It's all in that's kind of the micro study, right? Like women won't apply for a job unless they're like 70% of the role, versus men will go like, fuck it, I can do it. And it's that mentality that transcends everything from leadership going, I have to look perfect in this. I can't make as many mistakes. Or ironically, if they admit that they don't know something, it's been said in studies, don't quote me, but I've read it in a study, God knows where, but that basically when you admit that you don't know something, people question your confidence and question your leadership. So ironically, being vulnerable and open to your own blindness, it's like a double edge, right? Like you can't, like you either, so it's also imperative that we, as industry, create more safety around mistake. And in turn, I've seen men go like, I know this, and then like 60 people are laid off in a tech company. Like that's what happens. I mean it. I'm not joking. And I've experienced it. Like I know what I'm doing. And then you're like, I got a pink slip, because they don't admit that they don't know, or they're out of their realm, and they just blow, like, and you're just like, okay. And I think both sides are problematic, because it doesn't create an environment of safety for people to admit that they don't know. So it's not like one way is the wrong or right way. It's just the way that, like you said, like, I don't know why this happens, but it's because we don't even create a culture of, it's okay not to know. It's okay and that's, I think, the counter question I'm going to ask you that I thought was really fascinating when you said, to me, a leader is like, what do you think, instead of saying what a leader is, like, what do you think, just like 3 things that make a good leader, like regardless of gender, but I mean, yeah, like, what do you think makes a good leader?
You know what? My biggest thing, it goes with like anything. It's like being in a relationship. It's like communication.
Yeah. Okay.
Active listening and willing to support your team.
Yeah.
And it's like me, like being a counselor, a therapist, what I do, it's like actively listening to your team and being like, what's going on? Like, if they're down in the trenches and they're in pitchforks, something is going on. And if you throw a blind eye to it, you're a terrible leader.
Yeah.
Like I am like that type of person, that I am in the trenches with my team.
Yeah.
Like I don't ever want somebody to put me on a pedestal. Is it nice? Sure. But you know what? You'll be the first person that they'll shoot the legs out from underneath you. I want to be there with my team. I want to go through it with my team. Sure, I went through all the ranks to get up there. That's great. But on the other hand, I think my team respects me more for being there with them, showing up with them, and being like, hey, I've been there and I understand it. Hey, here's some advice that got me through those days.
Yeah.
You know what? It gives you that respect, but it also shows them, I get you. Like it shows you that you're human, and it shows you that you're listening, that you support them, and that you're here for them. And I'm a big person about just listening. Sometimes you can't fix everybody's mistakes or their questions and answer them. But you know what? If you still listen to your community and be like, hey, that's a really valid question, I got it on my mind.
Yeah.
Someone to be heard, seen, felt. That is such an amazing thing for them to have. So and so, they really understood my question. And I think that's an important part of being a leader. Sure, it sounds like fluff, but you know what? That person's going to go home at night and be like, my boss really understood me.
Yeah.
My boss really got me. And that's what I took pride in.
Yeah.
Taking the time. Yeah, it took time away from shit that I'm supposed to do. But you know what? Taking time from what I'm supposed to do to be able to help my community build the business that I'm trying to run is also way more important, because it's the people that run the business. It's not just me.
Well, because I'm like a strategist and like at heart, and that's my like zone of genius, which we will talk about later. Just honoring what you said there so geniusly, like, Jennie, you too are a strategist, and as much as you can call that fluff from a business perspective, you getting in the trenches, the worst thing, I mean, Ray Dalio, the amazing like multi-bajillionaire investor, entrepreneur, God knows he's everything, has said like your best ideas do not have to come from you. And so when you are in the trenches, ironically, it is an excellent business decision because you're really, in terms of engagement, when you're, able to actually work with your team and go through the same things they go through, you actually understand your customer experience. You understand the, from a bottom, as they say, it's not from the, top down, it's bottom up. Like that's a more intelligent way. In business, it's just a strategic move to not even, and again, it's employee engagement, because now employees feel like they've been heard, they've been seen, they're actively engaged, there's greater retention, less turnover. Clients then, because they're the first line in defense, clients feel like they've been heard, your business will increase. It's actually a logical move. So leadership, it's emotional, as you said, but it's also a very intelligent way of and I would add to my own list, I would say personal accountability. Sorry?
I said, what are your three?
Yeah, I think kind of echoing yours, for me, first and foremost, you said it in terms of like but it's personal accountability, it's personal responsibility, and not turning a blind eye to your own mistakes and your own, which I've really assessed in myself, being surrounded by so many entrepreneurs throughout the years, that there is this challenge between being discerning with what you listen to and what's priority. And it's tricky because you do, but the one thing I would say that I've seen truly successful entrepreneurs do is they admit when they're wrong, and they admit when they make a mistake, and they fess up very, very quickly. They do not delay. They do not try and hide. They show up and they admit it. And I think that's a big one for me too, because then it garners respect from your team. No one wants, and that's part of that for me too, is communication. So that's the other part too, when you're communicating where you've been out of integrity, or where you haven't been listening, or you haven't, where you've kind of dropped a ball, that to me is your team will have more respect for you, and not require one leader who I think requires you to always be in agreement with them is a concern. Because if your leader is always looking to be liked, who cares? Like, you're here to run a business. It's not about being liked. It's about the mission. It's about the service. Right. It's not employees being in agreement with you, and it's not a sorority, or like a team, it's a team. So I would say, it's personal responsibility, communication. And I would say thirdly, it's like, a heart. There has to be some, whatever that form is of emotional investment and general care. And so it's actually what will go the distance when Gary Vee calls it kind candor. So it's kind of that cusp of like communication, being honest, feedback, but there's kindness to it too, and being loving in how you provide even your own employees feedback, growth, what have you. You can do it in a kind way, and it goes both ways. So I think that's where I think a lot of business misses. So everyone's either afraid of hurting each other's feelings, they don't say things, or so it's really, I'm equally as guilty as this.
Oh my gosh, I think we say this from experience.
Yes, exactly.
You know I had shitty bosses, and I'm just like, God, I wish they would just listen. Or why are they being such a prick? You know, they don't hear us. They're not seeing the vision. They're just driving around in their Porsches and going out to lunch and not listening. Like
Costa Rica, in my case, they just flew to Costa Rica, and you're like, really? Okay. I swear to God, it happened. It's like the app is exploding. It's like, I'm going to go to Costa Rica. I'm like, really? It's like, really?
It's just so frustrating, because it's like when you're in it to win it and you want to see something succeed, then leadership is just out to lunch, and you're just like, why am I here? Like, why do I like put my bra and panties on and come to work? Like, because they don't care.
More than your bra and panties.
I mean, that's not, I'm not sure. But like, why am I coming to work if they don't care? Like, it's just, then if they have that illusion that they don't care, then like, why do I care? And I used to have that mentality. I'm like, if they don't care, 100%. I'm not going to care. So then I just was like, would they now call it quiet quitting?
Oh, 1,000%. And then you're like, peace. And then you're like, F you.
And at one job, I just did the bare minimum.
That's what happens, right?
Just to get through the days, just to get a paycheck. And it killed me, because I wanted to do more, because that's my nature.
Oh, for sure.
To, like, overserve, to give, to help my clients and do what I need to do to make like the company amazing. That lasted about 2 weeks, because it was literally giving me acid reflux. I left. I found a new job. Because I know I went to my new employer and I was like, listen, one of my bad habits is that I care too much.
Which I don't think is, a bad habit, but
and I said, I need a leadership to care. I need leadership to be supportive of me and the goals and the vision. And if that's not you, then this is not for me. Because when I go into an interview, I'm interviewing them as much as they're interviewing me. And, and that's something that I'm super proud of. I mean, there's many interviews that I went to and I'm like, this effing sucks. This is not for me. And I'm very particular about where I work and what I do, because it's like, I have skills, I have talents, and they are really good. And wherever I go, I bring all this skill and talent. So
I think this is the perfect segue though for what we were talking about earlier, is the upper limit problem. This is the perfect segue, because prior, like what Jennie said is so true. Like, I exactly the same. I'd be like, peace, you don't care, like, screw you. And then it's similar, like my internal compass is like losing its mind, because I I am equally invested and I can't not use my full potential. So for me, quitting goes against all of my value system. And so I started reading this book, and I'm telling you that it will change. Everyone's like, this will change your life. It will. It's called The Big Leap. It's by Gay Hendricks. It's like the best kept secret.
I've seen that book. Okay.
It's it's literally, I mean, it's conquer your hidden fear and take life to the next level. And this one, if anything out of the book, it's like 130 pages. You can read it in a day. But the one technique that, monumentally changes, you just hearing all the podcasts, myself included, all these, lady leaders who have read it, I'm telling you, it's called the upper limit problem. And what that is we kind of using the example of when a leader has your app is growing, it's exploding, and then all these things are fizzing, and it's, what happens is in that moment, a leader is faced with 4 things. It's all based on fear. It's either fear that they're not good enough, fear that, they're going to be abandoned and rejected, fear that they're going to outshine people, which is the worst, because that I think, you know, and the last one is just fear that it's going to be a huge burden and that you're not capable. And so the beauty of this is that we all have these same 4 fears. It's actually like you kind of like range in 2, maybe 3, like those are the ones that you kind of, no matter what the situation is, when you're fit with pressure. And this is where you have this moment of going, I'm going to fly to Costa Rica and now lose my team respect, let it go in someone else's hands. Like that's when you know, you've hit this level and it's the upper limit, and you can now rise above your regular thermostat and go, shit, like I can handle this. I'm going to get in the fucking trenches. I'm going to be there with my team. We're going to sort it out, or I'm going to fly to Costa Rica. And in that moment, it's this dawning of a new day, because you realize like everyone does this. Like it's like a CEO who's at the top of his game and then he sleeps with the secretary, and you're like, why the fuck would you do? It's because he literally he couldn't climatize to his own success. He couldn't handle his own success, and he self-sabotages. And it's like the craziest thing, because now you realize, wait, no one is like immune from this problem.
Right.
And you go now, wait, I am so aware of my own self-sabotage, because this is what it's a normal part of life. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not failing. You're not, you know, like it's kind of like, oh shit, you know?
Absolutely. I think we sabotage way more than what we realize, because it's like we feel that we don't earn it. We feel that it's not meant for us. We feel I just did a whole month on sabotage in one of my private groups. I'm the queen of sabotage.
I mean, we all are. We all do it. We all do it. Yeah.
It's terrible. And it's like when I become very aware that I'm sabotaging myself, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And sometimes my husband will be like, babe, stop. Even this morning when I was just like, I woke up and I was just like, automatically the first thought I had was like, oh, I feel fat today, you know. And babe, he was like, babe, just stop, like for once, like stop sabotaging your like body because of my body dysmorphic issues. He's like, can you just wake up and be like, you're fucking beautiful? And I'm just like
and this is where the upper limit comes into play, where you know, our body, and we've been programmed, and specifically for ladies, I would say, unfortunately, we're excellent at this ULP game. We don't allow ourselves success. We don't allow ourselves the joy. Like we do, but it has like a time limit.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like heaven forbid you wake up and go, you know, I'm beautiful, and some fucking voice is going to come in and be a biatch, you know, and that's where I think a lot of people need to give themselves, like, bless Gay Hendricks. He's like literally an earth angel. I recommend everyone, if you just like I promise you, just put him like some sort of, just look up Gay Hendricks for like 30 minutes and your life, you're just like, this is an earth angel that literally reminds you that there's something in your brain that causes you to want to lower in thermostat. And it's like, it's literally a minute by minute going, oh, this is, because now it's like, okay, now that this is where it's like, well, okay, Carrie Kristin, like now that you know this information, like how do I combat it? But here's the thing, Jennie, it's exactly in that situation where you were like, wait, do I have a choice here? Do I go back to this, you know, shitty conversation where I make myself feel awful? Or do I go, even if it's 5 seconds, even if it's 10 seconds, I'm going to feel a little better today. And it's like, that's what I think we need to remind ourselves of. And this is where you start to go, like, this is where you're really in the fucking driver's seat. And this is where, as a leader, you're like, this is where everything comes your way. This is where you just start being happy for no goddamn reason. This is where leadership, I think, in true spirit, because now you're not banking on anyone else's opinion of you. You're not questioning whether you're capable, whether you're going to lose something, if it's going to be a burden. You're going, okay, I know that now this is my fear talking to me, and that I have It's like, this is the decision, and it's split, and it's okay that I feel this way. And that part of leadership as a culture, I don't care what industry you're in, we do not enable or say to any entrepreneur, you know, it's okay to be afraid. Absolutely. When have you ever, like, maybe Jamie Kern-Lima and Sarah Blakely, like, maybe, you know, like, and like all of this,
everybody has been afraid,
you know, it's like, it's literally that permission that it's like, it's okay to be afraid. Like, as soon as you do that to yourself, you can do anything. It's really simple. And everyone's like, what do you mean? There's 20 steps. I'm like, there's really not. As soon as you admit that you were afraid, it dissolves. It just needs to be acknowledged. That's all it is.
And it goes back, and I think I said this before, maybe it was on, I don't remember, but it's like, just imagine if our parents told us to never get up if we fell down as a toddler or a baby. Yeah. You know what? It just be like, if we were trying to walk and we like grabbed ourselves up on the couch and we're like, hey, and we fell down, and they never taught us to walk because we failed.
Yes.
Like, we would never learn how to walk. Like, that was like the first lesson in failure. Like, I don't remember how to walk, or like, we just walked. Like, you as a baby wanted to do something, so we just did it. Like, as an adult, we should just do it. Yes. And failure is part of the life lesson. Like, I forget what guru it was, but they're like, what did you fail today? What did you learn?
Sarah Blakely, her dad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
like,
Sarah Blakely. Yeah.
What did you fail in today? And it's not, failure is not a bad F word. You know, my dad always told me, he's like, you didn't fail, you just learned something. You know, it's failure produced an outcome you didn't expect. And then we just learned something from there. And I always took that as a life lesson. Yeah. You know, I failed at a lot of things. Hell yeah. But I learned a lot of things along the way, because that's what made me me. Yes. You know, I've learned, okay, you can't do this because this is what outcome happens. Maybe not the best outcome for me. I want to do something different. Yes. We need to do things. Yes. And people are afraid to take the leap because it could mean failure. You could look like an asshole. Like, I don't really give a shit if I look like an ass. But you know what? I tried, because there's people out there that don't even want to try. Like, that, shame on you. That's what I say.
I think from a surface level, you know, if you read on LinkedIn or any of the self-development books, and you know, it's kind of like virginity. It's an experience. You know, you've got to really, what you said brings a whole new level of like, one step at a time, because it really is that. It really is. And I think as a leader, you know, we're taught to risk, strive, push, go, motivate, and so, you know, inspire. But what I would say, you know, seeing behind the scenes, a lot of entrepreneurs try, fail, is it's the relationship with failure that actually needs more. I think we're like heavy emphasis on go, do this, risk it, do it, but it's like maybe 20% on, okay, so that didn't work, you know, and honor your mistake, admit to your team you did this wrong. Like, there's not enough coaching or discussion around, it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to admit a mistake. It's okay to honor yourself, be upset about the mistake, like that type of conversations, even from a cultural level, from an intern to a CEO, like that discussion is not had. It's not, you know, it's a very like fear-based, like go, do, be, make it, innovate it, build it, don't fuck up kind of motif, which is highly problematic, because as you just said, and as we both know, reading the wazoo of successful people, I mean, anybody knows this, it's, you know, unless you live in a freaking bubble, failure is part of success, right? So like you said, and so it's a relationship, but it's also recognizing like, and that's where I think the upper limit problem really, that's why gay really is this, like Tony Robbins, like I know a lot of people follow him, and Tony Robbins, like a lot of his teachings are from Gay Hendricks. Like it's actually like he like evolutionized them and put his own spin on it. But the upper limit problem is the same discussion that Tony has about thermostat. And so it's really fascinating how I think the other part too is when people start to say like, okay, I've screwed up, they internalize it. And this is again where you don't process around, you go, well, Tony talks about it. You'll go like, you procrastinate and then you form it as an identity. So I am a procrastinator. So you nosedive instead of going, wait, this is just an upper limit problem that, I'm fearful of, and you just make it about you. And that's when you tailspin and you delay your goal for like 5 years because you think that it's only you that has this upper limit problem. Wrong. Everyone has it. Everyone has it. Like it kind of blew my mind because I'm like, I thought I was the only one who was doing this to myself. Apparently it's all of humankind.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest things is, and I say this probably a bazillion times a day, it's okay to ask for help, no matter who you are, what you do. If you don't know the answer, say that you don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And ask for help. Get a therapist, get a coach, get a mentor, talk to higher powers, Pachamama, Sky Daddy, whoever you need to talk to. Like, get somebody that can point you in the right direction, because like going from point A to point B is freaking scary if you don't know what you're doing. Of course, you're going to fail between A and B if you have no flipping idea what you need to do. Because somebody already did this journey and they failed, but they learned how to do it. Why not ask the person that already did it? They may not give you the best advice. That's okay. But at least you're learning from them. Go find somebody else that did it. That's how I learned so many times. I have no problem asking people for advice, for help, for support. Like, no problems. I learned at a young age, being visually impaired, that I needed help. I wasn't going to struggle in school. I learned that my brain is very different in comprehending because of my visual impairment, that I had to learn differently. So therefore, I had to ask for different kinds of help to comprehend. So at the age of 7, I knew that if I wanted to learn things faster, get further faster, I needed to ask for help. As an adult, I still do that. I have coaches, I have therapists, I have treatment teams, I have all these people that work with me to make me a better human. And it's so interesting that people feel that having a support team around you is weak. And I hear that so many times in my DMs or emails and all, be like, I can't believe you talk openly about having a therapist or a coach and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, yeah, what's your beef? What's your problem?
I think, I mean, I think it's a bit of like, I'm just going to speak from personal, I think it's a bit of ego as well. Like I've had trouble in my career, not being the smartest person in the room. I think it's also a deep-seated insecurity when you're younger and I perpetually was trying to prove myself and, came from a more competitive place and more, going like the title, like, the significance. And I just want to be honest, because I think it's really important, because it actually, you're not a great team player. B, you also, you shoot yourself in the foot, because what ends up happening is you almost do it the hard way. And so for me, my gift of reading Gay Hendricks and, I'm also reading right now, Jose Silva, who's someone in terms of like just better visualization and what have you, is I kind of came to this point of recognizing like, okay, like I have this wealth of knowledge and experience, but I seem to be stuck and I need to kind of go beyond my realm of like my normal resources, and where do I go? And for me now, one of my favorite quotes of all time is from Steve Martin, the comedian. And he said, you know, you never know where inspiration is going to come from. So he's like, don't dismiss anything, you know, it could be anything. And it's going back to that more flow of space, kind of the Ray Dalio technique of like, it could be an intern, it could be, you know, a woman on a bus stop, it doesn't matter where it comes from now. And I think that's the difference between being a good leader and kind of being a showman, to be honest, because, you know, like if you're a really smart leader, I think that should be like the coin phrase here too. You're intelligent enough to know that you don't have to have all the good ideas. You don't have to be the one that, it's not like a one woman, the greatest showman. It's actually, or woman or non-binary person, whatever that may sound like. Just honoring all of the genders,
yeah,
all of the genders. Yeah, I think that's where I really have asked myself recently, you know, my examples have been in the past, you know, a very like surface level, like street cred leadership. And what I've recognized in myself is defining my own sense of leadership is that it's got to be more pure and from the heart and a more humble place, and not about title or significance, and it's really now about like mission, team, and learning and committing and investing in people and being okay with, like you said, not having all the answers and accepting the help. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so funny. Like my brain is saying, there's people out there right now and saying, you two are so dumb. Like, you know, you're so full of fluff and blah, blah, blah. Like, you just got to be a leader and be mean and just tell the people what they need to do. Because that's leaders that I had.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that they were very aggressive. They were just like, do or die, hustle till your face falls off.
Yeah.
And like, it didn't work. But people still have that mentality. And I think like the world is like shifting. Mm-hmm. And it's more of like this collaboration. Like, yes, we still need to have leaders. Yes, these leaders still need to make decisions. Mm-hmm. But I think it's more of like, what's the greater good of the business?
Yes.
Versus
that's the question. Yes.
Yeah. Like versus like, I'm going to make this decision because I'm the boss, versus like, I'm going to make this decision what's best for the business and potential growth for the greater good. And I think people are getting that mindset a little bit more as time goes on. And
oh yeah,
I see that, you know, and I own my own business, and it's kind of interesting because it's like, I take all the things that I've learned, the businesses that I've run for other people, and taking all these little snippets into my own business, and just be like, wow, it's just kind of interesting being the CEO and doing all this stuff for my own business. And I'm like, yeah, like this is how I run my business and how I treat people who help me with my business. Be like, I don't care if you're helping me make a web page or a funnel, like we're collaborating all together. Yeah. Like I'm not just be like, bitch, here's $5, do this. Like that's not my jam.
Really? Here's $5. I love that. Like, you know, I love
people out there like go on Fiverr and like, here's $5 and a tip for a coffee, like fix my website. Like that's not my jam.
Yeah.
You know, but there's bosses out there like, be like, fix it. Like, I don't care how you fix it, just fix it. I don't care if put a Band-Aid on it, fix it. And I'm like, that's not supposed to be.
I definitely, I've had like a mixture. I've had that, like everything is mission critical, everything needs to be perfect. That kind of Chiquita banana, which I really don't like, hard pass. hard pass again, by the way, on that one. Also, like back of my mind, I'm going, if he's speaking to me like this, how is he speaking to his wife? How is he speaking to himself? Like, I'm concerned for you. You like, I worry about you emotionally long-term. Fix it, kind of like, bleed the company. And then I've also had the avoidant fly to Costa Rica. So I've had a bit of A and a bit of B. Who would I choose? Neither, personally.
Right.
But I will say that I think the greatest thing I've learned from myself, like just my own growth and journey, and kind of the greatest, and this is kind of the ultimate ULP that you can create for, when you're like watching this go down, and your bosses, for those that are in the working world, and even as other fellow business owners, it's like, it's so much easier to judge. And I know, like, I've been there. So like, hey, I've been on the judgy camp, but it's to go in compassion and go, okay, in this moment, they might not be showing up as the leader that I want. How can I show up as the leader that I want to be? And that is the upper limit that you face. And that's your own, like, this is where you become a leader, because you go, okay, I have this choice now to care. Like, they're going to be their standard, and they're going to go at their thermostat, and they're going to do whatever the F they're doing. But who am I? Like, that's, I think, the true testament of a leader, when you have someone who's not necessarily meeting an expectation, or disappointing, or not leading the way that you need them to. And this is where I think you build, and this is where you combat you're like, F you, ULP, because now I'm going to step up, and I'm going to be the leader that I want to be. And I think that's what I've come to realize, that I have done that time and time again, where I've actually said, you know what, okay, they're not going to show up, but I'm going to show up. And that's what matters. Like, it doesn't, as at the end of the day, yes, it's a job and whatever, but it's how you fucking show up, right? Like, that's leadership, right? When everyone else around you is like Chiquita bananas, it's how you fucking show up, quite frankly, that makes you a leader.
And we talked about this before. It's like, back in the day, I have clawed, scratched, punched, whatever to get to the top, to realize, first of all, it's lonely at the top.
Yeah.
And if you're at the top and you're alone, you did it wrong, as we know. Second of all, like, if you're at the top and realizing that this is terrible, nevertheless, you have all the same problems that you had before, plus a new set of problems. Nevertheless, all this work problems is going to bleed into your relationship. And that's what happened to me. It was to the point that, George is like, we got a problem. We got a problem, because I couldn't departmentalize a lot of things, because I was working like 80 hours a week, trying to make everybody happy. Like, I was going to bed and I was thinking about this, and, on vacation, still working, I couldn't shut off. If you get to that level, you're doing it wrong.
Interesting. And I think for women, it's kind of going back to, this is kind of a beautiful, to kind of tailspin or ending here. I think this is where it's creating this culture of women to succeed together and be better cheerleaders, and again, like, I know people be like, oh, that's fluff. And it's like, but I swear to God, like, it really is imperative that we like quadruple down in encouraging women when they succeed. Like, it's so important that we just like give them a standing ovation, because it really is so important that they, and 9 times out of 10, those women are also like, I know you, like, you're trying to pull people up with you, right? Like, it's not like you're in a silo. It's like, but how are they being supported? And I think that's my big question to self, like, here in I'm in Toronto, and we've got like quite a large ass tech scene, and we do have some phenomenal, strong leaders, and they're known, quite, because there's few and far between, but I do believe that they deserve far more support than and I think there's a lot of pressure on them, like, just seeing the, the eyeballs on them, that they do such a phenomenal job of pulling so many other people up. But what I feel personally and have seen personally is that it's like they need to be applauded, like they need to be supported like 10 times more than they are. So
I agree. I think like there's many people who are not appreciated for the work
Yeah.
that they do.
Yeah.
And we've all seen it.
Yeah.
You know, they've been, and I've been that person who was looked over for roles or bump up in pay and this and the other thing, because it's like one of my favorites is I couldn't get a program director position because no one wanted to work with a particular set of clients.
Right.
They were so intense, and I had a great relationship with them. Truly, it's probably because I scared them, but like no one else wanted to pick up this caseload. So therefore, when I applied for, you know, higher level positions, overqualified for it, they blatantly told me, we can't give you this position because no one else wants this caseload.
Okay.
So it's like frustrating because it's like I already hit that limit in this company because I was so good at what I did. They're like, you get this. You can't do anything else but this.
Oh, yes.
And you just stay over here.
Yeah.
I'll throw you a couple Snickers.
Yes.
And make you happy.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, you know, and I'm just like, well, these people are good. You know, I will train somebody to work with them. Like they're not going to eat anybody's face off. I'll promise you.
Right.
I want this. And they're like, well, no. And I was frustrated because it's like, they were scared of one of my potential. And they were scared of the clientele. Yeah. Because it's like the way I had a handle on them. And it's just so funny because it's like, I've already been told we're scared of your potential and where you could take this.
Yes.
And that's not what we want to do right now.
Right.
And I was like, well, what do you mean you're scared of my potential? Well, you're really good at this.
Right.
And we don't want to fluff any of the feathers. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not how we're going to get places. Yeah. Sometimes you need to fluff the titties up and get things moving in order to maybe get some of the grants or do what we need to do to like make the organization a little bit bigger. Some people just like to stay in that little, I call it the hamster wheel of death because it's comfortable and they can manipulate that area. That's not where I roll. That's not my zone of genius. I'm always outside the box. Yeah. And, you know, it's been interesting how I got stuck in that area and I was like, yeah.
No, I mean, this is so beautiful. I love you. I love you so much for like the beautiful set. It's such a beautiful. So Gay Hendrick talks about this in terms of, I love how you set that up. You're so genius. You see, Jennie's in her zone of genius. And so what this means is we've been, you know, throwing through. So Gay Hendrick talks about 4 different zones in which we, you know, there's zone of incompetence, zone of, I believe it's like good, you know, zone of good or zone of, and then there's zone of excellence, which is where most people preside, which is where in this instance, as you said, like for the company, it serves them. So in your excellence, you do well, you thrive, you're good at it. It's your wheelhouse. You know what you're doing. It's in your comfort zone. Like you kind of push yourself, you got to motivate, but it's what you excel at. But your zone of genius is like, we're talking like you are just literally one with the universe. You are like, people are like, it's when you're like, people are like, oh my God, you're on fire today. Like, what is this? And people like, you're just drawing people in, like you're getting all the numbers and they're like, who's that sexy bitch? Like that's literally, and as that company, unfortunately, Jennie's company demonstrated in that is a lot of times in our excellence, it serves people and they want us to stay there. Because it's so like, it's where your family will say like, oh, but don't go, you know, or the friends and it's in the zone of genius where your life becomes extraordinary. And when you're like really, really thriving because you're doing what you love and you're good at it. Like in the role of excellence, you're like, yeah, this is great. Like, I'm good at this. It's like, as Jennie, it's like the box, right? So, and for women in particular, which is why I love that you set this up so brilliantly. Literally Jennie's zone of genius was in tow right there, as we just witnessed, is it's exactly where a lot of women, it's this, if, you know, I would say it's the fear of outshining. Like, that's where the zone of genius will just, the upper limit problem goes, right? Because in your zone of genius, you're just like a freaking lighthouse, you're on fire, you're fully extended in yourself. And so for exactly that, like, this suits us, this works for us, but if you want to move, this won't, it'll be uncomfortable for us, because then we have to make movement, we have to make arrangement. And then of course it literally goes, well, I'm outshining people now, and people will reject me and I'll lose friends. And like, and that's exactly a particular example of an upper limit problem, where you have to go, okay, fuck this. This is my zone of excellence. I'm going to my zone of genius because I know I'm made for more. I know that my potential is there. I know it's what my heart desires. I know, like, that is in the embodiment of a ULP. And when you have to make a decision and go, I'm going to go in my zone of genius because I know that I have another level of evolution of who I am, my, you know, it's just all of the above. So, and I think that that's where, you know, we're asking the question, like, why aren't there more women in leadership? This is precisely why, because they stay in their zone of, oh, like, you're good at fixing, like, you're really good at, like, don't, you know, like, we need you in this role. If anyone ever says to you, we need you in this role, fucking run up go like, bitches, I'm up, like, I'm leaving, I'm fucking, like, because that's when you know that it's like, they don't want you to grow. And no matter, and I know that's not a nice thing for anyone, because I've experienced that too. And that's an awful feeling. But it's the truth. It's like, can you just not grow because it suits us? That's basically what they're saying.
It was the most terrible feeling ever. And I'm like, okay, I was like, ugh, early 30s. And I was like chomping at the bit to like learn and grow and make myself better. And I'm like, okay, I'm hitting the glass ceiling. I'm already 6'3". Like, I'm ready. I'm like, stop. Like, I want to be better. Like, I wanted to make this company better. Like, I believed in the philosophy, but they weren't there.
Yeah, they were not. Yeah.
And it was funny because, like, management, there were like 3 ladies that were like besties. And I wasn't part of the threes company, like these 3 ladies. And I knew if I would get promoted, that would break up the threes company.
Well, there you go.
And it was so interesting. And then finally I was like, okay, I needed to make the decision if I'm going to stay in the excellence or leave. And I ended up leaving and going into another organization where I was able to thrive, help the business grow, phenomenal amounts of just pride and joy in what I did. It's not always about money. It's about like fulfillment in what you do and how you serve. I worked in the clinical experience. So I therapists, counselors and stuff like that. That's what I did. I helped clients. And that's where I felt phenomenal, you know, helping individuals be better people. And when I would go to work, I would just feel amazing. I love what I did. You know, not only did I help my clients, I helped the staff, I helped the community. You know, I'd organize organization of activities and 5K runs and all these really rad things that we would do for the community. And it was like, it really made you feel better as a human at this one place. And or I could stay here.
I think it just goes to show, like, where it's about, it's like there's a couple of variables, right? It's like, as you said, it's like you really do have to, and that's what I meant about, you know, when people go, is there something wrong with me? And why can't I like fix this? Or why can't I grow? Or like, that's the speech, you know, like, that's really hard to combat, because it's like, okay, wait, but it's actually, it's not just a you problem. It's not just a you problem. Like, you know, it's like, it's really not, it's really going in this split decision going, no, but there's more for me. Like I can do more. Yes, maybe I don't know, and this is again where the upper limit will hit, where you're like, okay, but if it's not here, oh my God, scary, right? Like now I've got to go somewhere else. Now I've got to move, in another direction, and I'm disappointed and I'm scared, and my job security, the money, and like, again, you once you just know that it's just all, the fear, it's no longer a mystery, right? Like, as I'm saying it to you, it's like, that's for so many things with a relationship breakup, that's with, friends that you've outgrown, that's, if you've lost a lot of weight and you're like, oh my God, I got to buy clothes. Is it okay if I look good? Like, you start to realize that it's just fear. Like, it's okay. Like, it becomes like, that's true power when you can go, okay, like, even if I don't know how this is going to go, I know that I deserve more. I know that I can do more. Like, that's you being fully empowered in your hands. You know what I mean? It's like, it's you, that's, in my true opinion, I think that is actually true self-love. When you actually go to yourself, I know I deserve more, even if I don't even know what that is. Like, that I think is true self-love, when you go, I have the potential to do more, even if I have no idea what the map or road is, that I deserve it. I'm worthy of it. Like, that's self-love.
Well, it was funny because I remember I came home after like I interviewed for this position, and I said to George, I'm like, I don't understand why they're doing this to me. Right. And he was like, because you're really good at what you do. They want you to work with X. And I was like, yeah. And I said, you know what it feels like? I'm in an abusive relationship. And they want me to stay in the relationship because you're good at cooking and cleaning and like you do the laundry. Like, this is what you do. You need to stay here and you serve me here. And when I put that thought in my brain that I was in an abusive relationship with my organization, like, I had to leave. Yeah. Because that's the way I felt. I was like, wow, like, I can't grow in this company anymore. I was with them for like 5 years because they wouldn't allow me to grow. I couldn't even grow laterally. Yeah. Because I had like, I think it was like 20 some clients that were like parole and probation. Right. No one wanted to deal with them. I didn't mind them. They were fine. But it's like, it was to the point that the only way to get rid of that caseload was leave. And that's what I did. And my best friend got them. She said they were fine. Yeah. But it's like, it was just so interesting. But it was like that abusive relationship with management. And I was like, that's not my jam. You can't do that to me. You can't hold me down. This is not what I was meant to do. Like, peace out, Girl Scout. And this is where one of my coaches, past coach Scott, I'll never forget it. It was really funny. I still laugh to this day because it was group coaching, and we would talk. It was like he would wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning because he was in England, and the call was at 8 a.m. and I was like, this guy's wicked to do this. And we went around, and I was talking about the job. I wasn't happy in the role I was in, similar to you, kind of. It was a very Chiquita Banana kind of everything needs to be perfect experience. And I was like, I know I need to go, but I don't know where to go. And I know it's not for me. And what do I do? And Scott just says to me, he's like, Kristin, a lot of times in life, we really have to learn the art of letting go. And I was like, what? Like, I was like, that's all you're going to give me? Like, he literally just said that one thing. And I was like, did it pull an Elsa? Are you kidding me? Like, you're not going to give me a whole speech about like how I can do this and I have potential? Just said that one phrase. And, I mulled over it for the rest of the day. And I was like, okay, what does he mean? And to this day, that one phrase, he's absolutely right. It's like, it's a lot of times we stay for too, as they say, we stay for too long. We mull over, we B and C, we bitch and complain. It's not fair. This is happening to me, and allowed. Everyone's allowed. We all do it, right? But it's really the art of letting it go. That is the secret, because once you can let it go, you allow new things in. And so it's like, it's really, again, another part of the upper limit is going, I have to let this problema go so that I can
enter a solution, right? I can, enter a new space. So it really is the key to a lot of things as well. And I would say also, when you enter, it's like honoring and celebrating your success. I think that's, if anything, I would leave everyone with today, and is let go of just like, what this excellence, even if it's competent, that's what it was. It was, if you're competent at it, it's like, because you do have the potential, and you owe it to your fucking self. If there's anything I can say to you, it's like, you owe it to yourself to honor your genius, and you owe it to yourself to do that. Like, so, for me, it's going like, okay, I've got to let this go, like certain things in my zone of own excellence, and say like, strive, because you're doing yourself a better service, and you actually are giving yourself the greatest act of love by going into your own zone of genius and really striving for something that, it's not even about something that you can't do or not capable of. It's literally honoring every part of your full expression. Like, thank God. And everyone deserves that. So don't, like, set a new standard for yourself, for God's sake. And because you deserve it, everybody, you absolutely deserve it. Yeah.
I think that's a lovely way to end this.
I love you, Betty. It's great.
But thank you all for everybody showing up today. We had Paulina was here, so thanks for all for showing up with us. Ladies in leadership, don't be afraid to show up, be authentic, be badass, never forget who you are in the journey of life. And we'll see you next week with some kind